Hotapu everyone, this is Nesubwata or Pharaoh, Ra Sumabafekbeimi, the world's first openly African black gay king. And the role of a king is to nourish and protect his people. And today I wish to do so by doing as this image you see on the screen inspires, to look at the heavens, to honor and reach for the heavens, for the skies, for that which is greater and more powerful than we. And I wish to do so by asking a basic question of capitalistic Kemet. Is that even possible? There is something happening in the sky that begins on February 21st, 2020, and ends in 2039, an almost 40-year event or cycle of an event. This is a big deal. Think of that. When this event ends, you'll be 40 years older than you are today. Your kids will be 40 years older than they are today. That's quite a significant amount of time. And so I've been spending weeks preparing for this momentous occasion. And this lecture is about what that is going to mean. What am I referring to? I'm referring to a great transit, the transit of Pluto, which we call Bennu or Set. The word Pluto means treasure, like a buried treasure. It was also called in Greece Hades. The Romans called it Hades, and the Greeks called it Hades, and the Greeks called it Hades, and the Romans called it Pluto. And this planet moves very slowly through the zodiac sign and can sometimes go through one sign in about 40 years to 14 years, between 14 and 40 years or so. It's going to enter the sign of sidereal Capricorn, which I shall show you here. It's going to soon transit sidereal Capricorn. You see here, this is Pluto here, this ball with this little bowl and cross beneath it. And it will soon be, this is February 21st, as you see here, 2020. Well, it may not be showing on your screen, but it's the date referenced by this wheel. And here Pluto enters Capricorn, 0 degrees, 0 minutes. So this becomes, fractally speaking, you can look at my YouTube videos on fractals to get more information about that science, but when you deal with fractals or emerging patterns in a system, the beginning of the pattern is the most important moment, the birth, the insemination point. This is called the SDIC, Sensitive Dependent Initial Conditions, in chaos theory fractal geometry. And it means the butterfly effect, also it's called commonly, and it means the beginning is the seed of the whole thing. The beginning seed of a redwood contains the whole future tree. So if you can analyze the seed well, you can analyze the future tree. Okay, so what's happening is Bennu enters this sign for about 40 years, and whatever Bennu touches, he transforms. He forever changes. He may do it aggressively. He may change a thing violently. He may change a thing utterly and absolutely. And it's rarely a gentle change. It's rarely a graceful change. It can be quite traumatic, quite intense, and quite incendiary. So this is a big transition, and he's entering the sign of Capricorn, which is power, governments, social systems, hierarchy. Now, this brings us back to our question about capitalistic Kemet. What's going to happen, and I'm speaking in this video primarily to Kamau, I'm speaking to the more Afrocentric community, to the more Kamau conscious community, and I am being told to establish a new phrase for this 40-year window. This new phrase is capitalistic Kemet. Now, we call it in my realm Kamat. We spell it Kamat, K-A-M-A-A-T, Kamat. But I use the word Kemet so that those watching will have a more easy reference to what I'm referring to. So many people think being spiritual is antithetical to being rich, to being successful. And this transit of Bennu, the transformer, going through the goatfish means it's time for Kamau people and all Afrocentric people, more traditionally Afrocentric, the Ifa community, the Yoruba community, the Kamau community. It is key that at this point in history, this 40-year window, that we start thinking about how to use our spiritual methods to make people rich. It is a specifically economic agenda. Now, Kemet, Kamat, is based upon Ma'at, truth, harmony, peace. Is it possible to be capitalistic, which is essentially, we can look here at a few actually classical definitions of capitalism, an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit, rather than by the state. Here we have 5 major characteristics of capitalism: free enterprise, property rights, minimal government involvement, profit motive, and technological advancement. So the question we have to begin asking is, can spiritual people create an economic and political system or work within one in which the country's trade and industry are owned by private owners for profit rather than by the state? Here's a simple definition also: noun, an economic system in which the means of production and distribution are privately or corporately owned and the operations are funded by profits. They make the prison system, which is quite a wicked system, an example of a private-owned capitalistic company. So we have to ask ourselves during this Pluto transit, can spiritual people rise like the goat of Capricorn to the top of the economic ladder? If our systems are so wonderful and so enlightened and so powerful, shouldn't they be able to make us rich as well as wise? Shouldn't they make us masters of industry and of wealth as well as great spiritual lights in the world? So this transit of Pluto is asking a very deep question, a very confrontational question, a very transformative question to spiritual communities, particularly Afrocentric and specifically the Kamau. So it has been called to me to begin this new movement, to initiate the phrase capitalistic Kemet, that can we own our means of production, our own resources for private use in this country. So if the teachings are so powerful and so potent, and we're always told that it's unlimited power, the divine world is infinite possibilities, okay, great. If that's true, prove it in this box called capitalism. Now, in the process of following a capitalistic system, which many black people feel is wicked because we were brought here by terrorism for profits. Our very bodies were sold by the great perversion of Europe called the great terrorism, the slave trade. Slave what? Trade. Trade means profit. And we saw in the definition of capitalism, they even use the word trade. Okay, we saw that somewhere along here. So the question is, can really spiritual people be really capitalistic? The answer had better be in the next 40 years, yes. Yes. If Kemet is so great, let's prove it. Let's prove its power to be successful in any context, in any condition, in any situation. Now, what's happening is Bennu is entering the sign of the goatfish in a star. Let's pull up the star area that it's going to be entering. This is what's called the royal ruler or cubit, like a ruler for measuring a piece of paper or something, measuring a foot or a yard. And there are 18 entries, 18 finger breadths it's called, on the royal cubit, but these 18 points refer to what we know in astrology as nakshatras, mostly in Hindu astrology, or the lunar mansions, called in Arabic astrology lunar mansions, and Chinese Sieu, the lunar mansions, but they're the nakshatras in order of Ashwini being first in Aries, and Revati being 28th in Pisces. So, the star, the area of the sky, the nakshatra or the star cluster that Pluto will enter on the 21st February is this one, called Huck. It shows the rump part of a lion on top of a pole for bearing a flag. Okay, Huck. What does the word Huck mean? Let's take a look. Here we have a variation of it here. This is the Egyptian dictionary by Budge. We have that rump thing with this standard or flag platform here. And they added a woman's figure here. Doesn't really change the main roots. Huck links with a sorceress. So, Pluto is entering a sign of sorcery. The nakshatra is called PURVA-ASHADHA in Dravidian India or in Jyotish astrology. It's called PURVA-ASHADHA. We call it Huck, the sorceress. Now, this area of the sky deals a lot with, this is the back of a lion. The back of a lion, the rump, rear of a lion, where the back legs are the driving force. It means the animal impulses, the animal driving forces behind you. Okay? The drive to eat and to reproduce and to survive. These driving impulses. And that we must use magic, sorcery, the metaphysical powers to satisfy these drives. So for 40 years, Pluto, who was the planet of the occult, of the mysterious, of the magical and the wondrous, the planet of magic, shamanism, occult powers, is entering the star of sorceresses to give people the drive to climb the mountain of Capricorn, to climb politically, to climb economically, to climb the social system and win. Many times in the Black community, we see people who sell out, people who do drugs and marijuana, and they become great rock stars and pop stars and rap stars, and they get all these awards and millions of dollars and mansions and cars. They get all this material glory for being degenerates. You can be a rich degenerate. It's very easy. You see it all day long in the music and arts world, etc., corporate world, etc. What happens when you have degenerates or train wrecks becoming popular and rewarded with money and resource, with capital, it sends a signal to the youth that if they're a pothead, drug addict, crazy person, but they're successful in one area, they hit home runs in one area of art or music or business, they'll be rewarded, honored, and given the ticker tape parade. We humble, hardworking, spiritual people, like those of you listening to this video, would not mind having a yacht, financial security, homes, investments, gold, silver, properties, jewels, the finer things of life. Why would you not have those things? Why should you not have those things? There's no reason. There's no reason. So at this 40-year cycle of time, the challenge is being brought to we leaders of the spiritual black communities to prove, put our money where our mouth is, and produce receipts that our great wisdom and great spiritual powers can make life better on earth in a real way in real time. We need these drug addict, degenerate, women beating like Chris, who beat Rihanna, what's his name? Whatever his name is, Chris Brown. He's an absolute degenerate. This man has no character, but he's rich. He's rewarded by capitalism. What we now need are a class of people who are pure, tough, spiritual, enlightened, and rich, 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 to serve as a counterbalance to those that rose according to Set. Set means wickedness, low life behaviors. Set is one word for Pluto. So the wicked people, the low lives who happen to get a break, are setting the tone of what it takes to be successful. You've got to be a drug addict and ridiculous, and for the most part, anti-black, anti-African. You must be Christian. You must be Jesus-oriented. All of these things are being rewarded by the system. But if we in the conscious community, beginning February 21st, 2020, begin to invoke the powers of our culture, specifically the occult powers, the underground powers beneath the surface line of the water. This means rituals, ceremonies, incantations, incantations, incantations. This system will not bend to us of its own accord because it is a racist system. It was built upon racism. It's called slavery. And it has all the markings of staying racist. So this transit is saying the way up the mountain of Capricorn of success, power, and influence as good people is to use magic effectively, to use rituals effectively for prosperity. So we're in a 40-year spiritual prosperity cycle that puts us on the map of the world. Let's be honest. Without money, you're nothing in a capitalistic system. You aren't worth anything. The poor are not worth anything. The middle class are always being battered. If you're not rich, no one really cares about you in a capitalistic world. And that's okay. For now. For now, that's the way it is because we good people of spiritual, internal, metaphysical powers have not exerted our full force to use our inner powers to become capitalistic successes without losing our soul, to become rich, famous, and powerful, and righteous. Now that's a whole other ball of wax, that last word, righteous. And it can be done. We must now spend 40 years around the world working this out. It will be a process. It won't reveal itself overnight. There are going to be hits and misses. There are going to be ups and downs. But we have to now set the agenda for this is the task. So in my realm, I'm already preparing for this. I will begin in a couple of days, a set of classes on the occult forces of the chakras to make you rich, using the chakras for money. The agenda won't be so much for your moral strength or your character, although that will happen by default, but that's not the agenda. The agenda is get the life force to produce. wealth, security for good people like you, where you have your own towns, your own banks, your own schools, your own properties, your own industries. There's Chinatown, there is Little Italy town, there's Little German town throughout America. There are these little pockets of cultural bases, cultural groups. Little India town, Little India in your town. Where's Little Kemet? Where is it? That is what will now change. And by working with the star Huck, which is where the word um, Heka comes from, Heka or Haka, using sorcery, magic, what makes our system strong is magic. Christians may not like it, Muslims may not like it, but what do I care? I don't care what they like. I'll put it this way. I care what they like about me as much as they care about what I like about them. I don't care that Christians don't like my magic, black people's magic. I don't care that Muslims may not like. I don't care. I care about what my system likes. And what I'm saying is that Africans are sorcerers. That's normal in our system. It is our way. And it's time we become unapologetically sorcerers, unapologetically mystics. And that we do that not just to be spiritual and holy and all enlightened, but to become rich and owners of industry and lords of empire. The Kamal weren't a poor nation. They said that Cleopatra herself, who was a bit Greek, that her net worth was equivalent to, I think, was $927 billion. I'm sorry, not 92 billion. I'm so sorry. $92 billion. There was a 9 and 2. $92 billion. Billion with a B. She was the last ruler of Egypt and a foreigner at that. She was nowhere near the level of Menkaura or Ramesu or Sanachet. These men were trillionaires in their day. So money was always an interest for the Kamal. They used it to take over the world. First Africa, then the world. That time has returned. Now, this section of the sky called UTTARA-ASHADHA, PURVA-ASHADHA, or Huck, deals with fighting. That's why it's a lion's rump. It's time that we get up and fight. It's time that we use our powers to fight for our resources, fight for ownership, both of means of production and distribution. Get up. This is key. This is the times. Okay. So, in this sky area, it talks about if we do this, if we become unapologetically magical, unapologetically voodoo, unapologetically mystics, and we use our strengths with pride, our ancestral strengths of ritual and ceremony and magic with pride, with openness, with stability and consistency, because Capricorn is stable and consistent. And we use our magics, our African magics. We can, in this 40-year window, change the course of history, the course of economics, the course of the world game. This is the challenge, because I said before, Pluto will challenge you. It will turn things upside down, totally change what it touches. And this is the key. So we look here, again, the word Hak or Hakait, these are all the same roots. Hek, Hak, same thing, doesn't matter the E or the A. Heka, spell incantations. Okay? It means to lead, to rule. It has all these undertones. One who casts spells. Okay? Here we have an important one. Hekakan Ra, a form of Ra, of the life force, meaning your chakras. The class I'll be doing is Hekakan Ra, using your chakras, which is Ra, and Heka to make your soul produce products. Okay? It's also a name Heka, of the god of thunder and lightning, Min. This is his symbol here. To light up the world, to set the world on fire, so to speak, with a new hope, a new vision. Okay? So, this is what we're going to be doing. This is the call for the next 40 years. And there's one more detail about this transit. The constellation called Huck or PURVA-ASHADHA, there is in the Hindu system, this area of the sky is owned by a group of gods. And this group of gods deals with having to work together, a group of people. It means the only way for us to do this is for the Kamau community to begin to unite. Now, that's always tricky when groups unite. There's a lot of ego overlay. There's a lot of cultural clashing. It's normal when things join that there's a moment of friction. But this constellation is insisting that we must realize we all have a common issue, which is economics, a common enemy, and a common goal. And the way through this is for the different Kamau houses to form a structure like Capricorn, form some kind of entity that welcomes all the Kemetic houses under one conversation. How can we all work together to create a Kamau government, a Kamau economic structure? No one Kamau group can do it. It must be a unified event. This is very important in the nakshatra PURVA-ASHADHA. And that each group of people must be willing to fight. If you want to be champion, you have to go into the ring. You've got to take your lumps. You've got to pull Muhammad Ali, take some punches and give some back. This nakshatra, this set of stars, its symbol is an elephant standing still. An elephant in Egypt means Osar. He's the god of elephants. He's the symbol of the divine force in full might. And he's standing still on a territory. The elephant stands still in this star on a territory, meaning stabilizing his country, stabilizing his keep, his resources. And how to win a battle in this star is not through war, guns, shooting, or violence, but through cooperation, alliance, and working together with people who are different from you. Unity must happen. The elephant is Osar, Osar is unity, and through unity, there will come empire. Now, of course, I am a gay king, and I'm fully aware that there are many Kamau people that have still very disgusting, very prejudiced views of gay people. And that's their problem. That's their karma to learn about. I have a video called Homophobia, Sexism, and Racism Are Mental Disorders. So I feel for those people who are still promoting intolerance in the name of Ma'at or of Egypt or of Africa or of the ancestors. Behind all of that garbage is intolerance and injustice. They can call it what they want. They can call it Ma'at, they can call it Egypt, they can call it ancestors, whatever you call it. It's still garbage, it's still intolerant, and it's still prejudice. But I'm going to bank on that there are some Kamau groups out there that are open-minded, that are tolerant, that are balanced, that are healthy in their thinking. So I will be willing to join my forces with such communities. And I'm going to open the rituals that we do on the 21st of February to manifest that, to be open to groups, Kamal groups, and even Ifa groups of like mind that we must unite. My kingdom must unite with other kingdoms. This is true of any realm. There comes a point when a king and a throne must form alliances. No kingdom in the history of the world became great all by its lonesome. It had to form alliances through marriage or through trade or whatever. That moment is come. It is time. And if we do this, in the next 40 years, the Kamal will rise up the ranks of the world stage and will show how Egypt is not dead, but fully alive, fully functional, and a force to be reckoned with. Long live the magic of Egypt. Long live the sorcerers of the Nile. We welcome you back, and may you conjure your deep ancient magic to lift our community to the heights of world power and playing on the world stage. And may we work together, unite under Osar, under the great elephant, unite our talents and our uniqueness and unify, because when you have 5 fingers and they make a fist, the whole hand becomes stronger. Dwao everyone for listening, and remember, no matter what happens in your life, always look up. Why? Because you, like the sun we're pointing to here, you are a star. Dwawen Hotepu.